our spot.
Okay, we are under the hood of the Porsche, and one thing that we've been needing to do since day one is smoke this thing.
I'ma smoke you!
So, it has a rough idle, and I've shown in clips before the actual vacuum gauge on the dash. Way in there. And how this thing seems to me, act like it has a vacuum leak. And it runs a little bit hot on the temperature gauge, so I kind of attribute that to maybe being a little bit lean. So we'll go ahead and cold start this thing, get it warmed up a little bit, enough to idle consistently, and then we will go to smoke it. So until then though, let me show you what we are planning to do. All right, over here on the bench we have the Smoke Tech Storm. Okay, anyway. This was a nice Facebook Marketplace score. Picked it up just yesterday for 50 bucks. So I know you can do a bunch of DIY setups and stuff like that, but this is already done. It's 50 bucks and it's actually never been used. So the idea here is that we hook this up to the battery. So there's a piece of fabric inside and then there's a filament wrapped around it. As power is put to this cable, the resistance built up within that creates heat. The heat will then burn off the liquid that's saturating the element, and then that creates smoke. So we're gonna put air in here. This is already regulated down to something like maybe like 1 psi, and then it comes out of that nozzle as smoke. And then that feeds in through here. This will feed into the car. So our liquid here is just gonna be mineral oil, which is Johnson's baby oil. So we'll pour some of that in, we'll get that element saturated, and then we should be good to go. I feel like I can actually hear a vacuum leak up here. There's a little noise up in this area. Okay, it's our test setup here. This has not been used, so let's go ahead and hook up our power. There we go. It smells like baby oil. Yeah, the level of smoke's picking up. That's all it is. So we can go ahead and put our lid on and then start pressurizing the system. Over here, I have what we're tying into on the throttle body. And the fact that this is incredibly difficult just to set up because it keeps popping out of all the other lines is promising that we'll find a leak. Okay, we have stuff hooked up. I just hooked up the battery on there, so we should start seeing smoke very soon. Any day now. There you go. All right, hook it up there. backed up. Release the smoke. It's going to take a minute for it to fill the whole system. I can already see a bunch coming from down here. That's right about the area I thought. I thought I heard something coming from down here. Oh, it definitely stinks. What's that? Okay, I think we got the angle. The angle of the dangle here.
Yeah, we just shoot air through the horn and light a
Right.
light
Can I get it on camera? Right there. On the back of the manifold. Yep, that's our spot. Super satisfying. When I hold off for a week, I was watching this smoke machine on Marketplace. The person I bought it from had some stuff going on, so I couldn't meet him right away. But anyway, $50 well spent on a good diagnosis just right off the bat. So we waited a week, but it saved us a ton of time and money. So it is looking like I'm gonna have to pull the manifold off, which is not gonna be too big of a deal. So in that time, I will go ahead and replace the vacuum lines that are down there with all of the silicone tubing, because I actually happen to have a surplus right now. So 2 birds, 1 stone, or something like that. Anyway, let's pull the manifold off. All right, I think I have everything undone for the manifold itself except for the actual hose that's in question. So I'm gonna just start loosening these and go from there. I am worried that I will need an intake manifold gasket. I mean, I can see some silicone on here, so I'm just not really sure what to expect. And as of now, the goal is just to find a hose at like a local parts store that kind of mimics the same shape instead of trying to source a Porsche specific one. We'll see how that goes. I'm not even sure how to access the worm gear. How should I do this? All right, I'm gonna have to try to access that from underneath. All right, using a long screwdriver in through the front, I could just barely get it onto the screw. Loosened it just a little bit. And there it is. Now, we can take a look at this hose right here. Hopefully you guys can see this, but this is the hose that's in question. That'll do it. All right, check this out. Obviously this hose is bad. This is our idle air control hose. So we have massive cracks right there. Obviously our vacuum leak. So instead of trying to find a Porsche part for this, I went to O'Reilly's and I just happened to find this hose, which is actually for a 2000 to 2003 Ford Focus. So it's actually a larger diameter right there. So we have kind of a match on that side. And then correct diameter on this side. And I feel like I can kind of make it a little bit more of an S. I think it might work. So it's worth a shot. So I'm going to get a razor blade out, we'll get this thing cut, and throw it on the car. We'll give it a shot. Here's that part number though if you're interested. All right, well we have the hose on the actual car. I just test fitted the manifold to make sure that the bends were gonna be right. And I cracked a beer because of it, because that is cause for celebration. So, getting ready to put the manifold back on permanently. I have the hose clamps clocked in a direction that will make servicing it much easier. And then doing a little bit of reading, some people do what's called a Venturi delete on some turbo cars and stuff like that. I guess there's still maybe a possibility I could do it on this, I don't know. But I'm not really gonna worry about that right now. But I will in the future possibly do like the oil recirculation delete and actually make another oil catch can system, or just buy a catch can. I made one for another bike just to help separate that oil and air, and that will kind of clean up the intake track a little bit and potentially keep the intake manifold cleaner. But then I got to think, I really only plan on having this engine in here for a full season before we hopefully swap it out for something else. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start putting this thing back together, and I'm working on deleting these plastic lines. So we'll have all silicone vacuum hoses on here, and that will be much, much better. So I'm gonna get started. My battery is almost dead, so we'll see where I pick this back up at. Might be switching to the GoPro. As of now, I have my vacuum lines ran, and it's different than stock. I feel like this is a decent layout, and then I'm using, T's instead of Y's. That's just what I had on the shelf, but we have new silicone line. Everything should be ran where it needs to go, and I think it's going to be a much better system right now. So now the challenging part, which is getting all of this hooked up. At least it was challenging to disconnect. Let's say that. that one. Okay, I think we're done. All right, let's see what kind of a difference we can perceive. So I'm gonna just try to start it with no foot on the gas at all. So there is a little bit of that oil from the smoke machine in the manifold, so I'd expect it to maybe smoke a little. We'll see. It's a much better idle. All right. The area that we had the leak before, I don't hear it anymore. I mean, obviously, but that seems more stable. Sounds better. So let's go drive it. All right, so we're warmed up, and idle-wise, that thing is much improved, but driving, it's still kind of in that white square over there. So I'm not quite sure where it should be, to be honest, but drivability wise, this thing definitely seems like it's a little bit improved. Obviously our cold start, idle, and everything was much better. I haven't really got to watch the temperature, but we'll do a little bit more tomorrow and see kind of what it's all about. All right, so we've been running for all of 45 seconds. The car just starts up and idles so much better than it did. This is obviously the next day. It was dark by the time we finished last night. So we're gonna drive this thing a little bit and see if we have any difference on that gallons per hour slash MPG meter there. So looking at the temp gauge here, I've put about 20 miles on this thing, and it's during a section where there's a lot of hills. So this car is consistently running a little bit cooler. Normally, every other time this car would be on that next line to the right, if not even higher. So I feel that the vacuum leak definitely fixed a lean condition, and the car is overall running smoother and cooler, which is awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was really awesome buying a smoke machine and getting a quick diagnosis and repair on a vacuum leak. Overall, the car runs much better. I'm very much enjoying it. So I'm gonna keep playing around with the car, and you guys are gonna be seeing upcoming videos on maybe swapping the mirror glass or working on some interior projects, maybe weight reduction, all kinds of stuff as we evolve this car over time. So anyway, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video. I'll see you next time on Tangents.